Here we are. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. So thanks for taking some time. We're going to talk a little bit about branding today, I
Branding is
think, right?
so important.
It is. It is. And I've been wanting to pick your brain on it. You're the brand guru with our team and our extended team. And for anyone watching that doesn't know, I'm Nathan. This is Paul. Hello. Thanks for watching. Paul is the head of brand development for Surgical Marketing Group. And we've been doing this now for what, 2.5 years together, right?
Right.
It's gone fast, right? Has it gone fast or has it dragged on?
Too fast.
Yeah, I love it. It's been going, seems like it goes at its own pace. And all of a sudden you look, you kind of zoom out, you're like, oh, here we are. So it's been quite a journey. Let's talk a little bit about brand development and your work developing a few different types of brands too. How did you get into it to begin with?
I started in a product company and realized, I obviously in college I loved branding, and that was my favorite area to watch what other companies were doing and who the successful brand leaders are, and watching them, how they grow and build their awareness and basically tell their story through the brand. And every company should be telling their story through their brand and having that consistency. So the first company I was working with was a gourmet food products company, and I was able to kind of change what they were from a local purveyor to something that looked more international. And it was amazing how many, I watched how doors got kicked open when the brand was correct and everything was perfect. And whether it was your business cards you sent out, thank you cards, whatever we had, website to catalog, so everything looked like we were a Fortune 100 company. And just keeping knowing who you are, what you want to project. And that's the most important part, is creating the image of the company. And that's what people remember. So you look at brands that are super strong like Apple, everyone pretty much can tell you what the brand's about. Other companies that are not doing as well, people sometimes question, even big companies, what do they do? They don't know. So that's what branding is really important about, is building that awareness and the cohesiveness that you have to have, so that people understand what you do and who you are as soon as they see your logo or hear your name.
I think, you said that it's about the process of describing to the world who you are and what you do. I feel like where the rubber meets the road is people know then they need all these materials, and they need this, and they need cards, and they need this laundry list of things that seems to always get longer, faster than we can actually nail those things down. How much of it is really about the process of pulling that out from the business owner, the marketer, the entrepreneur? How much of it is about nailing that or spending time on that process of drawing them out versus the time spent implementing and then putting it in all these places and making sure the material, because you've got this massive materials list, and then you've got a bunch of things that the team or the business owner believes about what they do, nailing that and then getting that into actual materials. That process is obviously a challenge. You want to talk about that a little bit?
It is and it isn't. When you start working with the brand, start working with the company, you quickly learn sort of the markets they're going towards, or you can suggest. And a lot of times I look at that something and someone's so in the weeds with their product that they don't realize sometimes what they have. Having an outsider step in and look at it and say, do you know this would actually be really good in these 3 markets? And you talk about these 3 things that your product does, but there's 5 other things that actually people are looking for. So having those conversations, figure a little bit more out about that, helps you understand, okay, what is the type of company and what's the structure? Because when it comes to collaterals, a lot of times things are just done online. But other companies maybe have a sales force, and they're going to need tools to enable their salespeople. And it could be digital tools, it could be print tools, it could be video tools. So you have to look at the structure of the company, how they go to markets, things like that, and understand exactly what would work for them. And so it could be, a company that's selling almost door to door. It could be door hangers and direct mail. It could be another company that does everything digitally, and you have to do a lot more on social. You have to have digital things to send out. If they have sales reps, you have to have digital items to send out. along with printed items and leave behind things to mail, because there's not one type of customer. There's a lot of different people who absorb information differently. So checking through the boxes, say some people need paper, some people don't want paper, they want digital, some people are going online, some people want snail mail. So figuring out your market and how your market works, and every market's different, you sort of work into this to say what is the best fit. So there is no one size fits all, and any company who tries to do it, there's going to be waste involved. But if you truly want to hit them correctly, you're going to look at who they are, who their market is, and is it an older established market like the candy industry where face-to-face and paper is really important? If it's something like digital storage, they don't want paper at all. Everything is going to be online. So it depends on who you're working with.
So yeah, it's that materials list is going to be different depending on the business, and also the prioritization. It's something that I think is interesting is eventually everybody wants one of everything, right? But with a small business, with an entrepreneur, it's like, well, what can we get done this week or this month versus next year? And prioritizing that to me seems like it's a huge challenge. What's the first thing you do when you sit down with someone, like I know obviously peering behind the curtain with clients, but just in a general sense, you're sitting down with an entrepreneur, business owner, a doctor, a specialist, whoever it may be. What's generally the first thing you do with them to get that development of their brand going?
Well, if it comes to like collaterals and those things, one of the first things I want to find out is, what are they already doing? Because they may have a trade show next month, and they think that they're going to run off to a copy store and have something put together, in one day. And their work is not sitting on a shelf waiting for them. It has to be developed. So finding out the timeline that they're having this, a client, this is that, looking at their website. Okay, if their website is really poor, we're going to have to really build the website as the first area and then start working off of that. So I kind of look at what's going on first to see if there's any 911s coming down towards us that they forgot to tell us about. And I
feel like we get those 911s. It's usually the start of something is someone realized, oh, I need this one thing.
Right.
I need some branding. And then it's like, we still need to get that one thing done, maybe because that's their priority. But then to do it right in a way that can create a pattern, you got to go back to that core. But we kind of have to start with whatever the emergency is oftentimes, right?
That's where I sometimes start. And then it's okay. Well, that'll develop. Oh, you're doing a trade show. What's your booth look like? Oh, we don't. Well, then you need banners. And is it a tabletop show? Is it a large show? What do you need? Oh, just some tablecloths. I haven't got someone who can print those up for you. Let's do this. How about your business cards? You find out that half the staff have business cards that look different from the other half of the staff. Okay, let's even them up so we all have the same logo and same information. And going all the way through that, just for example, that event. But say they're launching a product. Well, then, okay, let's talk about, does the packaging match the look and feel of the rest of the brand? Or is it a type of product that's a one-off and it's a sub-brand? And then, we create a sub-brand to this. So how do you tie it back to the main brand so the main brand gets credit? So there's a lot of things to work with. But again, it's finding out where they are and where they're trying to go in the short term. Then you create some things for the long term. Okay, this is where we are today. We want to get to here. What do we need to do? And I started working on, how to put things together, and then the image of talking about it, and what should we be doing, and then also putting together information to educate their staff, because sometimes not everybody's on the same page in the same company. They have to realize what their brand is. Once they understand what the brand is, they all move together as one instead of trying to be pulling each other along. And one person thinks it's this, and one person thinks it's that. So you have to sometimes do some internal marketing as well.
Absolutely. So we always come in with the real world scenarios. People don't just come in and say, hey, 6 months from now, I'm thinking of starting a business, and let's go through this nice, clean process and get everything built up the right way. There are some, I'd say 1 out of 20 projects is kind of like that, but the rest of them,
you're being nice.
Yeah, 1 out of 100. The rest of the time, it's we're moving along and we've got this thing, we have this mess, this thing to fix. So that's something that I've appreciated about how you work with people, knowing that you're going to come in with, okay, we're also not living in a vacuum, and you've got this show or you've got this thing, you've got a sale. So coming in with the empathy to say, hey, look, we know that you need to do it the right way, but we can't build a time machine and go back. We
Right.
need now, and we need to build as we go for the future and make sure that that brand is truly in place. But we live in the real world, and there's materials that people need to keep functioning. So
Right.
that's kind of a dual pronged approach. What would you say is the biggest challenge for a business owner or an entrepreneur when they sit down and they're faced with that, and they're wanting to get help, they're wanting to get something going? What's the biggest challenge to maybe either for them, biggest challenge for them, that's something they need to figure out, or the biggest challenge that you see that you try to help them with? Could be the same thing, but for getting that brand process started, is it thinking, is it timing, is it attention, or something else? What would you say that challenge is?
I would say all of the above, but getting them to think about their branding and their marketing is a serious part, just like their quality control or their production. It's the same thing. You can have the greatest product in the world, but if you don't tell anybody about it, or they think you're one thing and you're not, they have a misconception, you may never sell any products. So you have to really work with that. But it's also, you're working for now, but you're also working for the future. When I develop something, say I'm working on a website, I'm already putting notes down about the collaterals and other things that have to happen so that it's not in a vacuum. It's not a one-off this. You're developing almost everything at the same time. And I know the project I did recently where it was a compliance company. I was thinking about the collaterals and how to sell this while we were structuring what the website would look like, so that when it all happened, you have a website where people now are interested. Well, then the next thing is, oh, well, can you leave me something or send me something? So you have to have everything kind of running in tandem. You have to think about these things. And even I have buckets for, okay, 6 months from now, we should be doing this. 8 months from now, we should be doing that. And I'm putting the information in and putting the side notes to these things. So it's actually more cost effective as you're doing it that way, because you're not, oh my goodness, we have to do something. Anytime you do anything last minute, it doesn't matter what industry you are, it costs you more. So
Right.
whether you have to order something and FedEx it across the country, it costs you a lot more for those parts. If you just planned, you would have had them in inventory. So same thing goes with marketing, planning for the future and understanding that it's not just what are we doing for the next 3 months. You're looking down the road and thinking of those things, that even though, oh, that's not till next year, you're still putting emphasis and notes and things like that, building that information. So when it does happen, you may have developed something, you're fully thinking about it now. 6 months from now, your attention is someplace else. You have to go back and kind of relearn what you had. So having that
Right.
momentum keep going forward, just know that it's a living thing. Your PowerPoints, your collaterals are going to change as your business changes. Very few businesses stay static, very few products stay static. So it's a
I think
living,
that's
breathing thing.
it's a living, breathing thing. Yeah. And I think that summarizes a lot of really what needs to happen in a brand process. We've got all these great ideals and the structures to get into really what a company is all about, what a team is all about. Lee does a lot of that work with getting to know what someone internally really wants as the business owner. You help with that and then manifest that into materials. But
Right.
again, not being in a vacuum, it's like we have to think now and long term. And if I could change your title to anything, it'd be way too long, but it's Paul, director of, he's the guy who thinks about the stuff you'll need 6 months from now in the right when you're not thinking about it. And that's how we like to describe you. Paul's the guy he's gonna be thinking about the color of that tablecloth at your trade show, or the color of the background for your virtual trade show, based on some factor we didn't think about. Branded materials and brand process in a real world environment. No one pushes pause and just gets to go and take a clean run at it most of the time.
Again,
So I love that.
You look at the most successful companies with the best brands, and they grow and nurture them, and they, even in recession, they're putting money into their brand, putting money into advertising, and because they know that things will come back, and they want all the market share they get. So they consistently selling their brand, talking about who they are, telling their story. And when everyone understands what their story is, when they need that product, they're the first ones they think of.
Absolutely. That's
That's
so key to maintain the awareness. And like you said, when you get those opportunities, those leads, those referrals, a customer is expecting to hear a consistent story, a consistent framework, see, look, feel everything consistent on point with the brand, and getting that done in the real world is a tall order. So that's all for now. But Paul, thanks for chatting. We'll do a few more of these on branding here real soon.
absolutely look forward to it. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Bye bye.
Bye.